PHL Nation, you are in the right place for the ultimate Amari Stevens highlight reel and breakdown. Comment below, who does he remind you of? We're going to do this a little bit different. I'm just going to let his highlights from this last year play. Go on ahead and turn the music up so we can get hype. And a little bit later in the video, you're going to get my full scouting report. Let's go. Coming up, a full breakdown of Stevens, the pros, the cons, and what he would bring the Lane Kiffin offense. But first, a word from today's video partner. PHL is proud to be presented by Prize Picks, which is America's #1 sports pick app. New user offer, you play $5 and get $50 instantly if you use the promo code HMA via the link down below. I am going to go with my Tigers today. You can go on ahead and take Joe Burrow, more passing yards on the season for this next year. So when Joe Burrow is fully healthy, he comfortably throws for over 4,000 yards every single year. So that's an easy one, more for me. And just to make a little correlated play, if Joe Burrow is going to throw for that much, that means Jamar Chase, who himself can comfortably go over 1,300 yards. I feel pretty good about that one. Let's add one more to the lineup. JD5. And here's something else you can do as well. You can either flex it or power it. Come on, it's PHL. We're all about the power, baby. So let's start with the pros, and that was his full junior highlight reel. Now we'll take a look at his sophomore reel with a different high school. This is St. Thomas Aquinas that he is playing with. The year before, he also played at St. Thomas Aquinas, and this past year he played at Chaminade-Madonna. Now, we'll tell you why that's relevant in just a moment, but first let's focus in on the player. And obviously, the first thing that really stands out to me is how electric he is with the football in his hands. He weaves like a slalom skier. Freaking Michaela Schriffen. Are you kidding me? His route running is indeed very nuanced. A very creative and innovative player. You saw in that junior tape a bunch of crazy cuts that you normally don't see. You also saw, and I would highly recommend you go back and watch this clip, a pretty interesting Hail Mary play where they threw it short and then he pulled a Travis Kelce lateral in it over to the side and scoring the touchdown right at the buzzer. So this is a very nuanced player. You could see it just throughout. He's not a guy that has just this insane speed where he just runs by everyone. He obviously enjoys the actual craft of being not only a receiver, but a returner, right? A lot of these returns, you'll see here, this one's just straight up the gut. You could see he could just stick his foot into the ground and just go. But you also saw some returns where he's truly Dante hauling it from left to right and left and back to right. So as a player, this is a guy that's hard to not get excited about. Then you start getting into some of the big name comps that you could potentially see in his range of outcomes. And honestly, the guy that keeps getting talked about in this offseason is a player by the name of Malachi Toney. All right. And this honestly looks just like a Malachi Toney high school clip. The true freshman wide receiver at Miami last year, who had one of the best true freshman seasons we've ever seen in the history of the sport. And honestly, when it comes to a guy like Malachi Toney, he was just a 3-star. Amari Stevens is a slightly higher rated recruit who is in that same kind of mold. Now, this gets back to the high school point that we were going to talk about a minute ago. Played at St. Thomas Aquinas, which is arguably the biggest producer of talent in the entire country from the high school level, the Bosa brothers, and then obviously recently for us, Mason Taylor. He then goes to Madonna, which is right now to me the hottest high school in all of football. I understand there's schools like Bishop Gorman out there, and obviously for us, a school like St. Aug in Louisiana. But man, Chaminade-Madonna, obviously the headliner is a guy by the name of Jeremiah Smith, who was this can't-miss 5-star true weapon who could do everything well, 6'4", the opposite type of profile to a guy like this. Now, the reason why that Chaminade-Madonna point is so unfreaking believably important is you have to take a look at the environment around him at that school. And there is a big pro and a big con to that we will get to. But, overall, I'll give you my personal thoughts. Obviously, we've given you a few scouting report things when watching him. I'll be honest, this has been a lot of fun. There was instances when just looking at the highlight reel where you're like, wow, this is truly special change of direction, unbelievable fluidity in the hips. It's really, really fun to see. And then, of course, the thing that, and God, dude, this is just, If you'd have told me this was Malachi Toney's high school clips, I would have believed you. one interesting note were those cornerback clips at Madonna, right? They actually looked pretty good. Kind of looked like, and that's him taking a big hit, still bringing it in, first down marker, and you get the targeting call. Crazy. Thought the hit looked clean, but that's not here nor there. You also saw something interesting when watching him a little bit earlier. Those defensive clips kind of looked like Dante Jackson, all right, going back to his high school days. Now, where this kind of sort of gets interesting is how elite of an athlete is he? Is he of that top high end speed that you normally see from the shorter guys that are recruited really highly? Well, I went to his actual recruiting Twitter page, and he said he ran a 10.8 100-meter dash, which is really fast. Now, it's not up there like a guy like Jelani Watkins, who we brought in, a few years ago. But honestly, toppity top, tippity top, high end speed isn't that important at the wide receiver position. We've seen that through NFL combine testing, and then, of course, we've seen that even in college, right? It's rarely just the absolute positively fastest receiver that ends up being your best receiver. Now, we get to the cons, and there are a few things about this. Now, before I get to that, understand this is just a very soft eval where I'm just mostly looking at his highlights. To truly gauge a player, you need to watch the full games that they do play. Now, that you can't watch every single game, there's not enough time in the day to do that, but there are some things that you could pick up when you watch a full game of him going versus elite competition, right? If you're cutting a highlight tape, you're only going to include your best of the best plays. Now, before we get to those negatives, let's shout out LSU for getting a guy that they really wanted. This was a George McDonald special, who to me has been one of the best wide receiver coaches of the past couple of years in the SEC. He came up from Ole Miss over to LSU, and it's not just him, it's Sawyer Jordan, it's Lane, it's the entire staff. So shout out to him. And then, of course, Sawyer is the inside receivers coach, which, of course, when you're looking at a profile like this, you do expect to play him quite a bit in the slot. But George McDonald, of course, oversees everything at this position. Charlie, everybody, good job getting a guy that you wanted. Now, a few things to point out. The first thing is the stats. It is strange to see a wide receiver quite like this one where the stats aren't where they are supposed to be for a recruit quite like this one. But it honestly doesn't concern me a whole heck of a lot. As you can see, the most yards he had in a game receiving was 75. But I want you to take a look at his teammates. Obviously, some of these guys just transferred in, including Brady Quinn's son, who will be his quarterback next year. But last year, he played with three different players that had a four-star ranking or above at running back and receiver. So when you are doing that, you have to share the rock, and if you're on such a stacked team, you're going to play in a lot of blowouts. I believe 8 of the 12 or so games that they played last year were true skunks. And normally you will see a receiver or two that is pretty elite as a recruit, and their numbers just aren't what you expected them to be. Derek Meadows was one. I think Carnell Tate, who's a first-round pick, uh, also had somewhat murky high school football profile statistically, but like our guy Stevens right here, played on big high school football programs. So I really do mean this. It's not really too uncommon when you see something like this on a team like this or teams. This was also the case at St. Thomas Aquinas. So we would like to see better numbers this next year. I think we will see that. Obviously, his prime high school season. One final thing, I put this up for our patrons. It is important to point out that this isn't the only football these elite recruits play. They go to these OT7 camps, you have 7-on-7s and all of that. And this is a case where this guy is better in those settings than here because there's just more repetition. And obviously, those games are a little bit more competitive than some of these high school games. And you could just see, man, just very creative cutback ability. And then one more thing, we would like to see him house more things, right? You don't see a whole heck of a lot of touchdowns. So just developing that killer instinct, there's one right there, right on cue. You would like to see that. And obviously, I say obviously, this is now his freshman tape. That was the first play from his youngest high school season. So you can see there is a lot to like there. Now, this would be a weakness that kind of sort of goes into how I feel about SEC football players is that size normally does matter, but we have seen just a bit the changing of the guard at the wide receiver position where you do see some smaller guys put up some pretty big numbers. Isaiah Satania is not a big guy. He was third in the SEC in receiving yards last year. Mario Craver of Texas A&M, almost to a T, is about the same size as the player that you are watching right now. We saw Zachariah Branch. Obviously, it's a little bit of a different situation where he was a can't miss 5-star recruit. I do like my players to be thicker, bigger, pause, because it is a force equals mass times acceleration league. But I do think that's a little bit more important at running back than it is at wide receiver. So let me know what you guys think down below. Amari Stevens, a part of the LSU class at the time of this recording. Pretty nice stuff right there from George McDonald, Lane Kiffin, and the staff. Don't forget, you get the Patreon bonus. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of these Amari Stevens highlights. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! And tonight we are doing chicken. Let's go.